Hey, hey, it's Friday. Weekend Gabe, hold down your Friday night right here on Twitch on Weekend at Gabe's. Listen to the sounds of Slot A, super producer out of Chicago. His new album, Mixtape Traffic Volume 1, is available on Bandcamp. I highly encourage you to go and support local independent music. He's working on a hip-hop album to feature some of Chicago's best hip-hop names to jump on it. He didn't ask me yet to get on it, so I'm just waiting for that call, but it's cool. You know, we'll get there. We'll get there. But shout out to Slot. Shout out to you for tuning in and checking us out here on Weekend at Gabe's. Don't forget to give us a follow on the social medias at Weekend Gabe's. We got a good lined up here tonight. The founder of Intufonte.com, Sandra Trevino, is going to drop in about 5 minutes to talk about Selena, the series that's on Netflix. It's getting a lot of play, a lot of criticism, a lot of critique. And I don't know if Sandra is a super fan, but she definitely opinion about the show and some of the real life occurrences. So we're going to talk about what they got right, what they didn't get right, and what she thought about it. So it should be really good. I'm about 7 episodes in, so I didn't get a chance to wrap it before tonight's show, but I think I have enough information to understand that her dad was kind of a dick and very Joseph Jackson-like of micromanaging his kids to superstardom. I don't know necessarily think that's the best way to manage your kids, no pun, but hey, to each his own, right? It seems like the kids don't hate their dad, but it definitely doesn't come off well. But we'll talk about their involvement in the show and if they have some revisionist history of how things really went down. So we'll get into that. And then also Xavier Pope. He is a fantastic follow on social media. Started off as a foster child and has an amazing story that I read in the Law Bulletin last week. That's about 3-4 years ago. And became an entrepreneur, a lawyer for sports management, has his own law firm, now is a media and social media personality, and does just about anything. And we might have to ask him about tonight's Supreme Court ruling that shut down the Texas filing at the Supreme Court level to roll back the votes in the Biden key swing states that Texas was trying to get done. That got overruled today, but there were 2 dissent votes, one from Clarence Thomas, surprise, and Samuel Alito. So we'll get into what that means, but also we'll talk about his story. So very super smart, intelligent, funny, and he also hates carrot cake. And so we'll talk about why he hates carrot cake. Even though today I had a great conversation with a bunch of people who were like, yo, carrot cake, that's the one. Yeah. But he is not the one that likes carrot cake. Either way, so we got a big show coming up. So Sandra is going to be joining us in about 4 minutes. Let's get into some of the news that I only care about. As I mentioned today, SCOTUS came down with the ruling preventing any additional, what would you say, filings or granting anything from Texas. They were trying to get other states to overturn their voting, which is something that is unheard of. Each state manages their own voting. So for another state to tell another state how to manage their voting seems kind of crazy because it is. So that's a big story. Yesterday, we lost a huge someone from pop culture history, but also just someone I was a huge fan of, Tommy Tiny Lester, who's also known as Debo from the hit movie Friday. He passed away yesterday at the age of 62. And the word is that he did pass away from COVID. I'm looking at the news piece from Yahoo. I didn't know he passed away from COVID, but that seems to be what had happened. That they found him unresponsive in his apartment in California after displaying symptoms of COVID-19 in the recent. It is sad because he was just phenomenal. The first time I saw him was in bar with Hulk Hogan back in 1989. I thought he was just a fantastic presence on screen, and it's just terrible that he's no longer with us. Age 62. Please, people, wear a mask. I don't know how many times we have to tell people this. I think people who are following the show are wearing masks. I just don't know what else to tell the other people who aren't listening to this. Lil Wayne was in the news. He pled not guilty to federal gun charges in Florida stemming from a 2019 incident. But he also, the rumor is, I'm not sure if this is official, but it's definitely hitting the social medias, that he sold his catalog, his music catalog to Universal for $100 million. $100 million. So I'm not sure if that is a too little amount for Lil Wayne's catalog. I never held $100 million. Maybe not ever will, but I like to think that's light. But Lil Wayne may be like, you know what? I probably have 20 more years of rapping to go. And, I can just, turn that into another 100 million when I'm 50. Lil Wayne is like 36, 37 years old. He's been around for almost 25 years recording. That guy is never going away. My kids will grow up. My grandkids who don't exist will be around long enough to see Lil Wayne still rapping. So Lil Wayne is in the news. So good for him. What else? Trying to look and see what else is going on in the news. Oh, Disney hit a huge splash yesterday. Jenkins, who is the director of the upcoming Wonder Woman 1984, she announced that she's going to be doing a Disney Star Wars film, and then Disney then proceeded to unload a large number of shows and movies that are coming out on the Disney platform and in theaters at some point whenever we return. I am excited. I can't believe that I'm not a kid, because I would just be thoroughly excited about what's happening in the Disney world and the Star Wars world. And I can't wait to get to Mandalorian tonight. I just hear fantastic things always coming around. But anyway, so shout out to Disney. Shout out to Slade. Traffic Volume 1 is out there. Go support it. Do it for the culture. Go put that into your life. All right, joining us now here on the show, friend of the show, friend of mine in real life, the founder of Intrufante.com, Selena Superfan, I think. Oh.
That's how we're starting, Gabe. That's how we're starting.
We are.
All right.
I'm talking about Sandra Trevino, who joins us. It has been so long. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Good to see you.
I know.
A new platform. Can you hear me okay?
You sound fantastic.
Perfect.
Yeah, you're great. No, it's been a while. I can't. When's the? Has it been like over a year? I think last time I ran into you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, since maybe the Oscar party with Reggie.
Oh man, that was
that was a long time ago.
That wasn't this year. That was early 2019.
You go. I don't remember running into you after that.
Maybe. Did you come to my last show at Loyola? Didn't you pop up or no? Did you miss that?
I missed.
No, I saw you for my baby, my child's baby shower.
There you go.
I think that's the last time I saw you. So that was but that's still over a year ago. So that's last spring. So, anyways, you're big time now. You're getting profile write-ups in the Reader. You got your photo taken, all super profesh. I mean, you're out there. You work.
That picture was taken by my DJ partner Stephanie, and she just was like, "Can I take a quick picture?" We were at the museum, and she snapped it. So that's the professional part of it. But yeah, that was cool. They reached out to me from the Reader and just asked if they could talk to me. I don't know how they got my name, but glad they did.
I mean, you're huge in these streets, in case you didn't know.
You, but no.
Well, congratulations on the piece. It was great to learn more about you, because we worked together, but I felt like it filled in a lot of gaps, which also kind of tie in what we're talking about tonight just a little bit. I'll connect the two. So Selena, the Netflix series, I just wrapped episode 7. I think there's 2 more episodes that I'm behind on, so I haven't finished watching it. I safely assume that you've digested the entire season.
I have not.
Okay. All right, where are you then? Because I don't want to
I
spoil anything.
believe I'm on episode 5 or part 5. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so is it fair to say I'm more of a fan than you are?
I wouldn't say that. I think that the story itself, if you didn't know who she was, you would be interested because it's an interesting story to see and hear, and learn about the music industry, and more about her just as a woman in music. But I wouldn't say that if you watched it more that you're a fan, because nah, I don't think so.
No, I'm definitely not. I just stay up late and watch things that my family doesn't like to watch, and that's what.
So what have you learned? What have you learned about Selena that you did not know?
Okay, so I was gonna say I did watch I haven't seen the 1997 film starring Jennifer Lopez.
Okay.
I haven't seen it in some time, but I was gonna ask you about that film, and I don't recall. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't remember much about the film except the infighting with her husband, who she ended up marrying, Chris Perez. But I remember that being a big focal point and issue inside the conflict inside the movie. Otherwise, I think it's a lot of it's a blur. So this series kind of helped fill in some of the gaps of like the upbringing of the kids. It has a very Jackson 5, Joseph Jackson disciplining the kids and managing them into superstardom and almost living vicariously through his children to see them be successful where he himself didn't reach that stature. And I couldn't help but think just how sad that is and how I couldn't do that as a parent myself. But to each his own, it worked out for the best, but also you I think in the film, you see more the cracks in the damage that caused, and this seems to be a more of an interpretation of everyone biting their lip and following their. And I don't know if that's the revisionist history or if that's exactly how it went down, because I can't imagine that as the members of Selena and the band were just kind of like, well, I'm just gonna let dad manage it, and I'm a grown adult, and I'll let him give me money when I just kind of don't feel like that's the true story, but I don't know. But I kind of felt like that's what was happening. My take from it is like there's this really kind of honest, loving family, but that's filled with a lot of dysfunction. What did you gather?
Someone used the word hokey to describe them as a family, and I would agree with that a little bit, but you have to take into consideration when I see them as what I remember knowing growing up was that they were Jehovah's Witnesses. So the hokey part fits right in, like laughing at silly jokes, things that aren't really supposed to be like amazing. They're amazed by because, in that religion, you get sheltered so much. And I think that has also to do with the dad. And I think they just get used to it because he's the father and you're supposed to listen to him and obey him and whatever he says is right. So I think that part of it is probably true. And I've read that Suzette had a part in it as a producer. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he would have allowed us to see that side of her father if it didn't really happen. And maybe this was her opportunity to show that. So I thought it was important to show it because, man, the dude's messed up, I think. I mean, he just the way he treats them is horrible. I don't know if you felt it when the kid got his first. He got something right, and the dad's like, "And what's next?" Like there was never
right. It's like the success was never the success was never enough. It felt like, where's your next hit? Where's your next thing? And that's kind of an ongoing theme of never being able to enjoy the success, which causes that, I won't say disruption, but there's a lot of tension that you get between AB, the brother, and the son of Abraham, that there's always this pressure to keep delivering. And, these are young kids who are in their early 20s who are expected to transform music, and there's this ongoing pressure. I can't imagine what that feels like.
And and then if they were so into the religion, which I think she only mentions once from what I've seen so far, when Selena, when she's talking to her sister and she's talking about the boy that she wants to see at the movies, and she says he's some so and so from the congregation, and when you say congregation, it means the church, right? So that was the only mention I see of it. But in the way they act, in the way they aren't allowed to really have friends outside of their family, it says a lot. And I'm kind of glad I saw that part. It makes her even more cool, I guess, because she had to go through that, and she always had such a positive attitude, which is what I think is missing from the movie version to this series, is that jovial, charismatic, energetic Selena that everybody knew. And in this case, in the series, the girl, great actress, but she's missing that sazon. She's missing the pizzazz that that marks Selena. Selena was always like, you know, giggling and laughing and making jokes, and it doesn't come across as much, in my opinion, in this actress as it did through J-Lo. I think J-Lo exemplified that spirit better than Serrato's did.
Yeah, I would agree that that Jennifer Lopez did a fantastic job capturing the spirit, and you're right. There feels like there's it feels like obviously a television show, because it is. So there's, you know, a little clunkiness about the way that it's delivered, and I agree that the some of the choices to carry these huge roles aren't the best, to be frank. But I think that what she was given in the way that they wanted to present Selena on this new scale to a new generation who weren't around when she was at her height and when she was taken from us, that sort of a new interpretation of her life and the life that she grew up in. And to backtrack a little bit to her religion, I don't recall it being a focal point in anything other than no drugs, no alcohol, that sort of being, which now you mentioning this makes a lot of sense later in the series, which I won't spoil for you, but that sort of being a common theme of like no distractions, you know, just like stay working, always be, you know, behave, be on your best behavior. And I think that makes a lot of sense now, knowing that. Being that you have Texas ties, so and you're old enough to remember Selena when she was and the band and the family. As a youth, did she connect with you? Did you follow her when you were younger?
Yeah, I was already out of high school, I think, when she passed away. When 94, like 5 years after high school, she passed away. Yeah, she was part of our life. My sister Mireya named her daughter Damaris Selena, in tribute to Selena after she passed away. She was just part of the family, and you saw that. I'm trying to think of an artist locally, like a Chicago artist, where you see them and all of a sudden, maybe like Chance the Rapper, like you knew him when he was playing around here, now all of a sudden he's on Saturday Night Live, right? That's how it feels with Selena. So I also feel that a lot of the fans that are critiquing the looks, I was definitely critiquing the looks because of the cheapness of those wigs. My goodness. But anyway, that's better. But Selena did have that short curly hair, and she had, you know, it was in the 80s and 90s as she was growing up and listening to music, and you heard some of the music in the series like Jody Watley and all this R&B and hip hop. So she was going through all those looks, and it was part of her getup as well. And I think that a lot of people only know Selena when Selena was at the Astrodome, when Selena was singing Bili Bili Bom Bom and Como la Flor, and they really don't know her Tejano roots and how she started in music, which was Tejano music, and her first recordings were Tejano music or classic music and, you know, the bebop stuff and stuff. But Tejano stuff everybody forgot about. I don't know why. That's how we knew her, from her Tejano music.
Yeah, it's kind of it's definitely mentioned that her love for American music, but also black music and soul music, and that was a lot like that had a lot to do with her multitude of different styles, and that gave her a variety that made her stand out from everyone else.
Yeah.
And there's a great piece by Vanessa Valerio and Bizarre. It's not bizarre, but it's bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, she discusses how like the show doesn't really tap into her love for Nick. I mean, it kind of does. It taps around it, but it doesn't really dive deep into it. But I mean, with any sort of production media, anytime you're trying to capture the full spirit of anyone, it's almost impossible to gather every element of their life on film. So, but it's a great piece that kind of dives into that, and we see that a little bit in the film where she tries to do Jodie Watley these pieces when they first travel to Mexico to perform, and she wants to give that diversity, and the band is kind of like, the crowd is like, no, this isn't what we signed up for. Like, so there's always been like a lot of resistance for her to sort of churn that satisfaction from the fans to like give it a chance and blend the two. And I think that's why she was able to be the star that she was, because she was able to live in both worlds.
Yeah. And then I remember the most famous scene in her videos now, and at the Astrodome, it was the disco medley that she did. So she loved soul music and black music. I don't know now, like, I always wonder what would have happened if she continued. Would she still be under her father's control? Would she have been finally able to get out of that? I was talking to Jerry recently about Chris, this morning, about her husband, and how did they make him sign an agreement where he would no longer talk about her? How did that happen? Was he so sad that it just, like, I don't know if we'll ever know, but I just wonder, like, how as someone that loves your partner, how would you sign something saying, like, I'm never going to speak about my partner again, unless it's approved by the family, which is just a whole other topic. I don't know if it's dealt with in the series, but I doubt it. But yeah,
well, I'm glad you mentioned that. So you threw him to alley oop. So I'm gonna dunk it for you. So another great piece that came out. There's a number of wonderful op-ed pieces about this. One from Yolanda Machado from Elle. She wrote about this, and I actually pulled this clip from the piece, and it talked about how her father, who's captured in the series as being very the manager, all the decision making goes through him. There's not a democracy. Everything is made through, all the decision of the band is made through him. But although the son does have some sort of autonomy about band members and who's chosen to participate. But so she writes this: 2 months after her death, Abraham recruited an attorney to create an estate properties agreement that preserved the family's band's profit sharing arrangement. The agreement would keep him in charge and completely remove Selena's husband from participating in his own wife's legacy. When Chris Perez attempted to create a TV show about his relationship with Selena, Abraham immediately sued, and the series fans were waiting for never came to be. So I don't think that it was anything he willingly entered into. It was her father making sure that her legacy was under his control, which we now see is still to be true.
Yeah, it's sad that it's happening that way. And I mean, I would like to interview him one day if I could. I would just ask him so many questions. I don't know why more hasn't been investigated. Maybe he doesn't share. I don't know. We should try, Gabe. We should try to get him on the show. Why are you doing this? Why are you still doing this with her? With her, I don't know. I don't get it. I get it. I don't get it. Yeah.
I was talking to my wife, and I were watching the series, and she kind of felt like they were exploiting her legacy with this show, that it felt like a money grab. I don't know if that's to be true or not, because, and I don't know. I just don't. It's like one of those things we just don't know, because even they did the biopic 2 years after her passing, which seems like a really short turnaround. And I don't think that would have been for financial gain. And I don't know if this is necessarily for financial gain. Maybe it's just some sort of way to stay in the spotlight, or that so much time has passed that we can regenerate interest in Selena and her merchandise and her music, and sort of give that a new, breathe new life into it. But I don't necessarily think that that was necessary. I don't know. What's your thought about that?
I think Suzette explained that they were given this opportunity through, what is it, Netflix, and they said they got what was it, one series. Wait, it goes into series, but when you get another, like, not episode,
Season?
yeah, another season. So when they got 2 seasons, they were like, whoa, great. And then someone mentioned the 3rd season, and she's like, no, that's enough. I think this story is just showing, like, another perspective of their life. And then you still have AB's version, which we haven't heard, and we don't know why we haven't heard that. At the end of the day, though, despite us talking about it and critiquing it and trying to figure out why whatever happened, Suzette, as the sister who approved this and helped produce it, this is her story. This is her version of what happened, right? So that's it. Like, whether we like it or not, this is her version of her sister and her life, and
yeah,
we just kind of have to accept it. Oh, I wanted to show you something real quick, not to interrupt, but before I forget. Remember fried chicken, bonchon?
What is that? It's like,
the fried chicken.
Oh, I was like, what? It looks like a box where you put chicken. Oh, cool. We've been Sandra and I have been talking about getting fried chicken as soon as the Rona is over. So I need to go and catch up and do that.
Yeah. I
don't think my doctor would approve of me eating fried anything, but what she doesn't know can't hurt her.
Once in a while. So I think my review would be, this is the Disney-fied version of Selena's life.
Does it, like, have you seen the Freddie Mercury, the Queen's biopic? That was my take as well. Like, it felt like it was a very glossy, like rated PG-13 for kids, and that it didn't really dive into anything substantive that you could take away. It was the very clean version of the band. Yeah. And it didn't get messy. And this kind of feels like, so far, it's like the arguments feel relatively subtle. There's no real outburst. There's no like any crack from the family, despite their agreements. And I just can't imagine anyone working under that level of stress to deliver. It just that wouldn't be something that would happen. And I think that's the disappointing takeaway. And I know that a few people have like mentioned that like Susie is in a lot of scenes with Selena. And I think that people were looking more for Selena to like show out and really express herself a little bit more vocally and a little bit more loudly. And I don't know if that's the story that really happened, or like you said, this is her interpretation. So it does feel like her finger is on the weight of the scale because she's cut in so many scenes. I don't know if that's either to advantage or disadvantage for us as viewers.
Yeah, maybe both. Maybe we'll get the other AB's story as well. And I have an AB story. I know AB's son, Svani Quintanilla, because he came to play in Chicago as part of Cumbia Sasso, and he actually stayed at my house, and his artistic name is Príncipe Q, and he does a lot of this cumbia rebajada out in Texas. So that's my claim to fame from the Quintanilla.
It's like my parents who once took a picture with little Ricky from Lucio Ball and Ricky Evans. They're like, we got a picture with little Ricky. I'm like, why? Like, it's somewhere. I'm like, why? I don't know. I guess that was important for them. I don't know. I suppose this too. Has we got a couple minutes left. Has anyone from the family written a book or tell all? Has anything like I didn't look that up before talking with you, so I don't know if that's anything like any.
No, but there are a few. Wait, there are all of the unauthorized books about her. There's several, including one from a reporter from Univision. I forgot her name, but she did like a reporting, more of a report on the death and stuff that happened. And I think the father is the most upset with her and her version of things because I guess they brought out some stuff that he didn't want known. So I think they're still under the cloak of like we're very secretive and this we're not going to change anything. And then he's writing a story about her as well. So I think he's done. There was a picture on Instagram where I guess he was on the last chapter or the last words of his book. So he's going to have a tell-all as well.
This is AB, the brother?
No, this is the dad.
Oh, well, let's. I don't necessarily want to hear his version because I don't, you know, that's gonna be a slanted. It's definitely gonna not paint him in the most polite, view. So I don't know if that's I want to hear AB's version, and because he seemed the one who was like the songwriter and who had a lot of pressure on him to make sure that the band was evolving. And how to manage that.
Fed, not only that the band evolved, that the family survived. Like, what kind of pressure are you putting on your kids to like, hey, I can't make any money. This is the way to go. Let's do it. And then just to touch on it real quick too, like the hypocrisy of learning Spanish only to sell music and the hypocrisy of learning Tejano music for the same reason instead of like, let's do music because we love music. So that's another story for another day.
Yeah, well, it's a very enjoyable series. If you're not looking for historical accuracies, it's a very enjoyable show. But
I support it because it's cast and supported and produced by Latinos, and it has my support. But it doesn't mean we can't like it and critique it at the same time.
Absolutely, and it's nothing against the people who are putting it together. I think it's just the work that they were given, and they had to make the best of. That's what we're critiquing. Yeah. So, but I do like the actor who plays AB. I don't like the mom. I don't like how they portrayed the mom as just sort of being this item that's
for real.
You said what?
I think that's the way that she would be, though, if she was a Jehovah's Witness wife. She would totally be that way. Yes.
So there's some accuracy there. All right.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, tell us what you're working on, so we can plug away and go check out enchufante.com later on tonight.
Yes, check out Enchufate. I have new music up there. I'm also, if you're into stuff in Spanish that's scary, I'm a new show called No Te Asustes on Lumpen Radio, and that's the last Wednesday of the month. And it's all about scary stuff, scary sounds, poetry, and music. All scary, all full of horror. And then just find my writing on Gozamos or Contratiempo. I'm doing a couple of articles there as well about local stuff.
All right, very good. And we'll both be submitting our end of the year submissions for Vocalo in the coming weeks. I don't know about you, but my my hip hop playlist is really tough to narrow down this year.
How many are you doing?
I'm gonna do 10. And then I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I have to scan through and try to refresh my memory of like the hundreds of albums I listened to in 2020, and then not counting.
Is I'm gonna, and I'm only gonna share I'm gonna my top 10, but on the playlist I'm adding all the ones that I love of the year. So
I should do that too. Maybe that's not a bad idea.
Anyone else, because everything is so good, and they did all this music during a pandemic. Come on, Gabe. Come on. The con side to that is there's too much music during the pandemic. So I would actually like to close that faucet a little bit, tell people to just relax. Nice. Like just yes.
Like make sure the record is good before you put it out, just not to do it. Well, it's good to see you, Sandy T. As always, I appreciate you joining us here on Weekend at Gabe. We'll definitely love to have you back whenever you want to come.
Holla, let me know. And shout out to everyone who's listening and watching. And stay tuned for more from Weekend at Gabe.
There you go. I appreciate it. All right. Have a good night. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right. That was Sandra Trevino from Inchufante.com joining us to talk about the the Selena series that is on Netflix right now that you can go watch and check out and stream. Like I mentioned, it's a really enjoyable show that I think has some flaws in it. I think the way it's shot is kind of clunky, like I mentioned, but it's workable. You can definitely, enjoy it, and that's probably all you really need to do when you're watching TV. So I got about 2 more episodes to get through, and like we're talking about, there's a second season that's going to be coming up. So I don't think that we're going to see the climactic ending of Selena's life, the series. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know. Whoever wants to spoil it for me, please do. But I'll have to check that out. We're expecting Xavier Pope to be joining us with soon, hopefully. We'll talk with him. He has a fantastic story. I really want to talk with him and just catch up a little bit about his story and how he became this huge media and social media personality that is always speaking truth to light about social injustices, legal injustices, his hate for carrot cake. He's just seems like a really fun, entertaining guy from Chicago that has a serious aspect about him that I really appreciate when I'm on the social media. So hopefully he'll be joining us shortly. So we're gonna hit a small break. Stick around. Weekend at Gabe's. Let's see if we can get back to some traffic talk. Hey, we're back at it right here on Weekend at Gabe's with Weekend Gabe. It is a pleasure to have our next guest join us. Xavier, Mr. Xavier Pope. Can you hear me, sir?
Where do I go?
Oh, can you hear me? Uh-oh. Trying to get the tech together. All right, we'll have him join in just a second, but he'll be joining us in just a moment. Yeah, we're looking forward to having Xavier joining us. I really got to get my hair cut, folks. I know I'm wilding out here, but it's the quarantine, and not sure yet. I went and had a haircut not that long ago, but now I'm kind of having second thoughts considering all the cases that are happening. So I'm not sure, but I do want to support our local barbers and put some coin in their pocket, especially during the holidays. But I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. I don't know. Need to out Xavier's phone session soon. But shout out to Sandra Trevino. If you haven't seen it yet, go check out, Google her. She has a great profile piece in the Chicago Reader right now. What else is going on the interwebs? People are now happy that they don't have to see Ted Cruz try to go to the Supreme Court and try any case on behalf of the president. That was a good day. The Zodiac Killer, if you've never seen the film, I definitely highly encourage you to go do as such. There was a code that was finally cracked 51 years later. The solution to what is known as the 340 cipher, one of the most vexing mysteries, the Zodiac Killer Mysteria, has been found by the code-breaking team, courtesy of the San Francisco Chronicle. So shout out to the Zodiac Killer still making news 40 years later. Joining us now, Xavier Pope. How are you, sir?
Hey, man. All right, man. Sorry I didn't get to you earlier, brother. Appreciate you, man, for having me on.
Not a problem at all, man. I'm just glad the technology is working. That's all that matters.
Yeah, technology is working. Just doing back-to-back on all this stuff that's going on with the Supreme Court just dropped. Yeah. So thank you for having me on, man.
No problem. No, I definitely wanted to start there. That's the breaking news tonight.
Yeah.
That SCOTUS shut down the Texas lawsuit that was trying to overturn states that went for Biden, which sounds crazy because it is. The shocker of the decision was the two dissenting votes from Judge Alito and surprise Clarence Thomas. What do you? I know people are saying like, well, the SCOTUS isn't perfect, but they got it right. But shouldn't this has been a clear, definitive statement from SCOTUS to just shut this kind of silliness down, and they didn't? And once again,
well, technically they did not release their votes, but it is determined that that Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito basically stated that, yeah, don't necessarily think that there is some merit here, but then we don't. Basically, like we think they should have been able to bring the suit, but we would have ruled against them anyway.
right.
And so that's pretty much what we saw. I mean, so Clarence Thomas is an absolute disgrace to the seat that was once held by civil rights icon Thurgood Marshall, number one. Number two, Alito kind of telegraphed this months ago. But I think it's fascinating that all three of Donald Trump's picks during his presidency, which we thought would be consequential to potentially making some sort of difference in terms of his presidency. No, not to be the case. I think that Donald Trump is probably upset. I mean, the reason why the Republicans had this super spreader event for the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett was for the sole purpose of putting her in position to do what she did not do, which was this Hail Mary pass to basically shut down to be able to let go forth Texas AG and the rest of the Sedition 17 and the 106 Republican legislators who decide to sign on to this farce.
Yeah.
It's an absolute farce. And I predicted, I said this on my Twitter timeline at Xavier Pope. I predicted exactly the reason why this would be tossed right out is that that the states did not have any standing. The concept of standing is, can you even show up in court to be able to bring the suit in the first place? Are you someone specifically that this suit can relate to? It turns out there are no remedies that could address the issues that Texas and the other state attorneys brought up, because guess what? They have their own election laws that they are in their purview of, and there was no reason for them to step into another state's election laws and to be able to determine the constitutionality thereof. And so I think if you're looking at the devil's advocate, okay, hey, well, the amalgam of various state law elections is what brings the president to office in the first place. That's a hollow argument in and of itself on standing. The true concept, this true spirit of what standing is really about. So that's what I said would happen, and those are the exact words used by the Supreme Court on Article 3. And Texas can't be telling Ohio and Michigan or any other state or Georgia what to handle with their election laws. Specifically, you saw what Texas changed their laws due to coronavirus to be able to impact how people voted. And on top of that, we had more people vote for Joe Biden, vote for Donald Trump combined, more than the history of this country. And so the effort to make voting easier due to mail-in ballots, guess what, Gabe? It works. That's a good thing. Surprise, democracy wins.
It took a pandemic for us to finally make voting accessible to everyone. Who would ever thought?
No, we need to give people health care too. We need to be able to make sure that people are taken care of if they lose a job. I mean, basic. It really is funny to see how people have now gone, quote unquote, to the left in terms of looking at real issues in our society when there's a pandemic. I think it's fantastic. In a time that things are broken down.
Yeah. Really quickly, is this the end for the Trump administration in court? Is this finally done, or is there some other avenue that you think they may pursue?
Yeah, Gabe, I said this on the show last night that I was on, is that we are just seeing legal challenges to every step of the electoral process that leads to the inauguration of Joe Biden on January 20th, 2021. And so we're just seeing just one step of that process. What hit my mind when we just saw the announcement that there's approval of the coronavirus vaccine, which is going to be huge news, and you saw that Mark Meadows and Donald Trump was pressing on the FDA to get that done today, and it has happened.
Right.
I did not want that to happen today, because I did not want Donald Trump to use some sort of emergency powers to be able to try to come at democracy that way. So don't be surprised if something happens over this weekend that this administration tries to use some sort of emergency powers in terms of the coronavirus vaccine to being distributed. Chicanery, we may see another legal front. That's before the electors meet, and that's what they were pressing that before the electors meet, because they're finding any way that Donald Trump deserves to still be president of the United States of America. So it's going to be the electors, and then maybe potentially you're going to see with the meeting of Congress on January 6th, all the way up to January 19th at noon. This is going. Giuliani said it on Newsmax just in the last hour. He said that we're not done. So this is not over. As much as people would like it to be over, Gabe, it's not. So that's what we're facing right now. I know it's exhausting, man. I know.
I'm just. We need to figure out a way to stop giving this oxygen and make.
We're addicted to Trump, man.
Something that.
Well, we have a society now that's addicted to Trump. Every day there's every day there's a scandal, right? I mean, there hasn't been a day where there's no news that pisses us off about the Trump administration. Not since the day that he was inaugurated, which I find to be fascinating that the country has now become so inundated with scandal after scandal every day, not just every day, multiple scandals a day, where it has buffered up the cable news industry, where there's been new media outlets started up in its wake. And so media is starved to be able to cover this nonsense. Meanwhile, the public is more. This has been a crazy presidency, but I feel like the public is more civically engaged than they've ever been in my lifetime. You might want to agree with that, Gabe. The fact that no one ever heard of Safe Harbor Day until this year.
We all learned more about government in the last 4 years than the last 30 years.
Exactly. So I think, but part of that have made people consumers of news more than they ever have before.
I agree.
And so as such, that has made the media hungry to be able to cover Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump leaves office on January 19th at noon, then the media will want to know what's going on with him and will want to be able to put that in the context of a Biden presidency. They're not just going to want to leave it alone.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those companies are advertising dollars, and so they'll want to have those mouths fed as well.
I'm waiting for the first Biden question at the White House of like, did you hear what the former President Trump tweeted about you today? You know it's going to come up. And I don't know how Biden is just going to like, I'm not doing that today. Don't do it. Or because it's going to be like every day something's going to be said that he's just going to be a troll. And I've already unfollowed him. So I my life is a lot better because I did that. So I encourage everyone else.
That's good self-care regimen, Gabe.
I'm trying.
We just have to break our addiction to this president. We don't need him around. We don't need to know what he's doing after. We don't need to know what trolling he's doing. We understand. I think about bad relationships. When you're done with a bad relationship, you keep them in the background. The rearview mirror, and keep going. Otherwise, it just keeps bringing up the muck in your life. And I think that's the same way that happened in this country. We saw it still blows my mind that they've raised $200 million since the election, Republicans. And
I don't understand it.
And it's actually mind-blowing that they would raise so much money during that time. And so Republicans have bought into this narrative. So are the Republicans going to turn around right now and turn down all the money that they're raising? No, they're not going to do that. We still have a runoff election that will determine the outcome of the Senate on January 5th. And so we still have another 4 weeks, almost 4 weeks before there's another election that's going to really impact how Joe Biden presidency begins, and whether he's going to get cooperation from Mitch McConnell, and whether Mitch McConnell now steps down as Senate Majority Leader, which needs to happen, particularly in a time where we have a coronavirus relief bill that's being fought over by the Congress, and there's this contention over coronavirus liability protection that is keeping Americans from the relief they deserve instead of the fighting that's going on. So that we're seeing that this is going to continue in our Americans' politics over the next month, at the very least, due to the fact that there's some fundraising around an election that will determine our politics for the next few years to come.
Absolutely crazy. We live in times. That's all. That's the only explanation I have. Well, I'm glad we got that. I'm glad we got that 15 minutes in, which completely derailed why I brought you on. But it's important, but also an important to make just like how incredibly smart you are on social media. I think I found you because you were someone I know retweeted something you said, and I just became a huge fan of what you say every day. And I love the just sort of the way you project yourself in a very positive way no nonsense, do the work, stay disciplined. And I love the way that you project that, but also just that no time for fuckery. Like, I'm not doing it today.
No,
You're not gonna
no.
come. You're not gonna slide in my notifications with the dumb
Nope.
shit, because I will go at
Nope.
you. And so it's both enlightening and entertaining and just pure fuckery. So it checks off all the marks.
Yeah. You know, I think that, so people think that intelligent people are supposed to be stodgy and stoic. And I break the mold of that. They think people who have strong political opinions should be overwhelmingly negative. I've broke the mold on that. They think that people who are overwhelmingly positive are overwhelmingly unrealistic and don't really think what's really going on. I've broke the mold on that. And so I think that it's important for us to recognize real people, real issues that impact us, but at the same time as informing us and getting these idiots the fuck up out the way, that we inspire the world around us so we can live in a better society. That's what it's all about, Gabe.
Yeah.
You have love, man. That's a centerpiece, dude. It's all about love.
Oh yeah. What do you say? A gape every day?
Agape every day. So agape every day. Is a word that means love. It means pure, unadulterated love for each other and humanity. And so when I talk about how passionate I am about the law and politics and making things fair in our society, it comes from a place of love for humanity, love for my brother, like you, my brother, love for you, love for those who are listening. We want to be able to have a society that we can all live in, that we can be healthy and respect and honor and love each other. We don't have to agree on everything, but we have to agree on the things that matter, that touches directly to the heart of who we are as human beings.
Yeah, I agree that we can disagree and still remain respectful, but once someone crosses that line, it's like all bets are off.
Yeah, be dealt with, homies.
my block button game is untouchable. I don't play games.
I don't use a block button, Gabe. I use mute, because I want you to not know that I've told you to shut the fuck up, and that you're gonna be yelling in the wind, just yelling at a brick wall. And guess what? I got all my followers. Just let them deal with you. I'm out of the discussion. Let them handle your ass. After I've dealt you a couple of quick blows, and then I'm out of there, you can start yelling at the wall.
That's funny. That's a good strategy. I might have to adopt that.
Hey man, you don't.
So there's an incredible piece in the Law Bulletin here in Chicago that they wrote this profile piece on you, and I caught up on it. I read it this week, and it's beautifully written. It tells this amazing story of your upbringing and the let's be real, it's child abuse that you endured, and then living with the foster under foster care person you are today. But it wasn't easy, even though you went to Whitney Young, you had a scholarship at Iowa State, but you still were having your challenges, but you still were able to develop and be the person you are today. And it's a phenomenal story. I know this stays with you in this part of your everyday life, and is that of your life that it's important to project love and project empathy, because you yourself that you've endured.
Gabe, it really comes down to, I had an amazing foster parent, Emily Mitchell. She was my foster parent until she died when I was 14 years old. She told me that I was special. She loved on me, and so I believed in the things that she taught me about loving people who aren't your flesh and blood. And she had friends of all races and backgrounds, and so it was really easy for me to adopt that once she died. And she had a really strong spiritual background, and so she was a happy and joyous woman that helped so many people. She was a humanitarian. You know, she'd make these Sunday meals where she'd cook almost for the whole neighborhood. People would come and just eat her food, and there were people who were homeless that would come stay. And you know, it was like she was like the old lady who lived in a shoe that had so many kids she didn't know what to do at old table. Right. And that was me growing up. And so, Gabe, I had a foundation a person who put that in me. I defy the statistics still though. Less than 3% of former foster youth go on to achieve a four-year college degree. There is such a small amount who's going to law school that the number actually hasn't been statistically recorded because they can fit in my living room. And so a third of our U.S. homeless population are former foster youth. So a lot of the people past, they may have been in predicaments such as myself. So it's just the love that she gave me saved my life. And so I give that same love to other people. And I treat everyone like my brother, my sister. I don't care what your background is, black, white, Muslim, gay, straight, trans. It doesn't make a difference. Like I feel like the society is my brother and my sister. And so I just put that out in the world, and that's how I live. And I'm just I like to say I'm playing with house money. I came from nothing, dude. And so for me, it's just a joy to be able to just do the things that I do. I've been able to do so much in my life that people could ever even dream of. And so I'm just so grateful. And so I just want to be able to just do my best to be a leader in this world, because I know that from where I come from and to be able to have this platform, it's really important for me to speak for those who can't, that may not necessarily have some of the mechanisms to speak for themselves and to be able to be a leader. And so that's important for me. And that's why it's grounded in love.
Yeah, there's a piece in a story that just absolutely sounds something from a movie. It was a moment where you were being abused. Just decided like I'm out, and you're trying to walk from, I imagine, the north side because it was on Belmont all the way to 92nd Street, and you're like, I'll just jump on jump on Lakeshore Drive and I'll walk. Yeah. and you're like what, 9, 10?
I was 9. Yeah, I was 9. I was 9 years old at the time. Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, at the time I was in an abusive home. For about 2 years I was with my birth mom at the time, and there was an abuse in that home, and I decided to, I decided to take my destiny in my hands at 9 years old, and I walked along the Lakeshore Drive, trying to get back to my foster home, because I was there, my foster home from 6 weeks old to 7, and then I was in my foster home again from 9 to 14 when she passed away. In those middle years I was with my birth mom, because after she had gotten out of prison. And so I just thought I needed to be able to have a different life for myself. And I chose that. And so I think that that's the foundation, Gabe, of kind of how I live my life, is that if you don't like something, change it. If you don't like what's going on in your community, you need to be able to organize and be able to make a difference in your own community. If you don't, like I've been telling people on Twitter about the coronavirus relief bill and the fact that it could potentially impact liability protection for businesses that make us less safe, call your congressman. And it's just part of what I am as a citizen of this country, is to be a good citizen, to be a good neighbor, to be a good person. I just feel like all that is driven by that. And I feel like I just have such a passion to make the world better. And so the more I can get a bigger platform to people to hear what I have to say, it's not about me, it's about the things that we're able to do to live in a more fair, just, and more pluralistic society, Gabe.
Yeah. Your background is kind of crazy. It's like finance, economics, sports, entertainment.
Yeah.
And then you became you're a lawyer, and so you're dabbling in all types of fields of legality. It's quite astonishing the amount that you've accomplished, considering, like you were mentioning, usually children who grow up in these situations don't statistically wind up on the side that you have found yourself on. How often do you reflect back to like your journey? Does it ever catch you during the day when something should happen, or a moment that would just kind of like put you back when you were a child or a teenager, when you were, either, I think for 2 years you were living in your foster mom's home after she passed, and still maintaining like working, going to school, managing your siblings, and still doing that work and it's like it's a phenomenal thing that you're able to do. Does that catch you up during the day and you're like, holy shit, like I actually did that? That's crazy.
Every day, every moment of every day. The furniture that is in my home, the theme, the color scheme is the colors of foster care, which is turquoise and white.
You mentioned
the colors of my law firm, the colors of my media company. Heck, this background, what you got right now, is on this stream. I see the gold and to see the turquoise kind of action popping. And so it's just, I think it's important for me to always remind myself where I come from, because it takes me out of because once I've gotten to different rooms, with different experiences in mind, who really couldn't relate to how I came up. But I can relate to them because I've been in different rooms and different spaces. And so if I didn't keep my eye on where I came from, I would lose my footing. And I would forget the people who are in situations like me that I need to be able to help. And so for me, I'm constantly reminded of how I came up. To have the gratitude, to be able to have the joy, to be able to deal with any situation that comes in my life now. It's a great self-care regimen on a basic human level. But on a wider societal level, it creates the empathy in me to be able to understand that a couple of breaks here. I mean, I had to keep catching breaks and keep, any one of these missteps along the way. I mean, you might not have an Xavier Pope right here. So I understand how incredibly blessed I am to be able to even have reached this spot. And so as such, I like to be able to reach those fissure points to be able to touch people that are left at the margins.
Yeah. Well, what has this year taught you at this moment of isolation and quarantine? Like, what have you? How do you feel like you've grown, or what did you find out about yourself that you might have not noticed before because of this time that we've had?
Gabe, that's a great question. I've actually been asking every person that I've been talking to, what have been your biggest lesson of 2020? I actually conducted a talk on Clubhouse yesterday on my, I have two times I air that. It is called The Morning Uplift. And the question was, what was your biggest lesson of 2020? And for me, I started this year on such a high, teaching yoga at a retreat in Hawaii between January 9th and January 13th. And being in a situation where I hike through a jungle, go to the Pacific Ocean, strip all my clothes naked, and just say a forgiveness prayer. God, forgive me for things I've done for others. Forgive me for things I've done to myself and to you. And just feeling overwhelmed, overcome with emotion, and just crying and having the waves crash over me. And then being so excited and releasing so much of this impromptu self-baptism to do yoga poses on the beach. And I took that moment for the rest of my year. And what it meant for me was I was meant to be someone that people look to for resources, whether it's money, whether it's mindfulness, whether it was information, whether it was opportunities. I was meant to be someone that people leaned on. Mm-hmm. And so I needed to be able to make sure I kept myself operating on the highest level possible, so I made sure that I wasn't looking at, because remember at the beginning of the pandemic, people were hoarding. They were, right. Let me get as many toilet tissue I can get. Let me get as many beans as I can get. Everything is supposed to get. And I went shopping and got some things, but I was reasonable about what the things that I had. But I knew it was my job to be able to be one of the people that you look to in this time. And so I needed to be able to keep myself always operating at a high level. One of my mottos has been consistency is power. So I had to show up for myself every single day, no matter how I felt, and know that I had to be delivering out the love, the information, inspiration, my work ethic, and keep going at operate the highest possible level, that so people can look and say, okay, I can do this. And I needed to be that guy. And I knew that everybody couldn't be that person. And so it was a responsibility that I had to be able to be operating at the highest point possible. And because of that, it's felt a different year, surreal for me that it's hard to explain. And so to be someone that is in this new economy, this new world, because even though there's a virus that's coming, virus vaccine that's here, and our world is forever changed. Right. We're not going to go back to the world we had before. And so I am going to be one of the leaders in that world. And not for myself, but for everyone else. And so I needed to be able to recognize that's who I am and be comfortable with that position of authority and leadership and step truly and fully in it. And that's something that I had to learn about it. And that's a very humbling feeling.
Yeah, that's a great takeaway. I sadly did not come to that realization this year.
That's
It was a lot of anxiety and depression.
You have your own journey, dude. Everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their own lesson to learn. Everybody has their own walk. I had a late great mentor that passed away, Reverend Wallace Sims, in 2012. And on his deathbed, he said to me, son, life is a journey. And that was it for him. And for almost a year, it took me a long time to figure out, what was he trying to say to me? What does this mean? And it finally hit me, and it really took almost into my birthday at the end of last year, me to recognize that, oh, okay, things happen in our lives. We look at, you ask our parents, they talk about, the Cold War and what they had to do is the drills underneath in their classrooms, and what was it like for our grandparents to be able to, some of them being shipped off to war, and what life was like them. And for us, it just seemed like stories at the time. But when it was there, it was just like 2020 for us. And so we're going to look back at this time and those that have gotten through it and going to say, you know what, I made it through that. And guess what, Gabe? Something really shitty is going to happen in the future that's going to impact the lives of a lot of people. We don't know what that is. We don't even know what form it will take shape in. But guess what? If we made it through this, we can make it through that too.
Absolutely. I agree 1,000%. And I think that's a good place for us to leave today. Xavier, thank you so much, Mr. Pope. I appreciate you giving us your time and sharing a little bit about your journey. You're a fantastic follower at Xavier Pope on Twitter. I appreciate you once again. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Please feel free to stop by anytime if you want to talk about anything. I'm here.
I love you, brother. Have a good weekend.
Same to you, man. Take care. Have a good night. All right, that's our time here on Weekend at Gabe's. Don't forget to follow us on the social medias at Weekend Gabe. And we will do it again on Tuesday, where we have no guest booked, but I'm sure we will find something to talk about. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let's do it again. Weekend Gabe's with Weekend Gabe. Peace.